What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining today. This is CryptoVatsik. Nothing of what you're about to see is considered financial advice, and they're just my opinions. If you do enjoy this content, I would really appreciate it if you smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Let's get right into it. Okay, today I'm going to be covering Solana. It's been a little bit since my last video on Solana, but ultimately what you see in front of you here is a chart that I shared way back in June on my Twitter, and I had basically said that there's going to be an area of accumulation over time where I'd be interested in buying this long term. And so I had marked out those key buy zones, and I shared this on my Twitter. So if you follow me, you would have seen this has been my plan the entire time. Now, the caveat to that is the fact that we had an unexpected black swan event since then, okay? And that is the FTX insolvency. But that is fine, because what has happened since then is we chopped around in here above my first buy zone. We only entered the buy zone once briefly back here in June, but I did expect us to come back in there and get more chances to buy, at least for sure, my first buy zone. But the question was if we were going to come into my second buy zone. And so I had said it's definitely possible if Solana comes below $20, but it would be a gift essentially, in my opinion. And so we saw exactly that. Okay, we had the FTX collapse. We shot right back down to my second buy zone, found a temporary bottom there, hovered around, and then we ultimately deviated below down to just over $8. Right after that, we reclaimed the level and then shot up to my first buy zone again, which off the low was a 200% move. So if the FTX insolvency sped this entire process up, then it makes it a little bit more unpredictable what it's going to do now in the next few months. I think ultimately the blue line is a general idea of the structure that I would see taking place, not necessarily the time frame. So I had said, there's going to be that time when retail FOMO's back in, volume spikes, we reclaim a key resistance area, and the trend is clearly reversed. But I had said, don't marry a date. It could be over here later in 2023. So who knows what that looks like now at this point? Nobody can know for sure, but all I do know is that we came back down to my second buy zone. That was a gift if you're accumulating in this area, and now ultimately looking like a truncated bottom, just shooting right back up. So let's go back to a clean chart here. Okay, so ultimately, everything below this zone right here is essentially, in my opinion, a result of the FTX collapse. Just the fact that it happened quicker than expected. It's not like I didn't expect us to come down to these levels. I just didn't think it was going to happen that quickly. But all in all, a very good opportunity to get into Solana at some very discounted prices. And as nice as of a push as we've had, I'm not certain that this was necessarily the cycle bottom. I certainly think it's possible that we come back down and test these levels again at some point. So clearly, this was our previous range, swing high, swing low, and ultimately just coming back up and revisiting the bottom band here on the underside bearish retest. So definitely still resistance for now at around $25, $26. So clearly reclaim that. We can talk $43, $42. We've got an interesting diagonal here as well with multiple taps, 1, 2, 3, and testing it now as resistance. So that's simple enough. We're filling up some of the void here from the FTX insolvency with this push currently. But this was really interesting price action that we got down here. You're not going to see this too often, to be honest. And the reason why is there's a couple things here that I'm noticing. Okay, so we had clearly our range here. Okay, swing high, swing low, reverted back to the median, came back down, huge doji candle here. Okay, large wick above, large wick below, thin candled body, came back up, consolidated at the median, the mid-range again, and then came back up and broke out. Meanwhile, during all of this price action, people were calling Solana dead and that it could never recover. But if you remember from my previous chart that I showed, this was my secondary buy zone that it was hovering within. And so I was looking for reasons to get long. And what I noticed is a major bullish divergence on RSI. It's subtle, but it's there. Higher low in RSI, lower low in price. This was a very powerful bullish, classic bullish divergence. And since then, it's been up only since the beginning of the year, since January 1st. It's only been basically straight up. And it's not to say that these levels won't get retested again at some point in the near future, but there's clearly demand still here for this asset. I'm sure a lot of people were calling for $5, $3 that got front ran on this one. So just a good reminder that sometimes you got to cut out the noise make your own trade plan, have your specific criteria set out. My criteria was set out since June, and I followed my plan. But it's tough sometimes, I gotta admit. Definitely tough to cut out the noise and cut out the FUD. This was also just a very nice market structure break here. So we basically making lower highs after lower highs all the way down here, okay? So ultimately this being our lower high in comparison from this high. Major break to the upside here. Break of market structure with a higher high with a beautiful retest of that market structure break. And then subsequently an SR flip of this previous resistance here. This resistance level that was formed on 1, 2, 3 taps. Suppressed price with this wick all the way down. Candle closed below at the time still, but demand smashed right through it and then got front ran a little bit here on that retest of that area. So a very powerful, very quick move, very impulsive, giving only very brief opportunity to get involved on this. Okay, so let's flip to the weekly. So what does that mean now looking forward? So it's pretty simple. First off, flip the diagonal and a flip of the range low, then we target these highs. And reclaiming $26, I start to think that the bottom might be in. But my bias is that we're still within that accumulation period that's going to go further into this year. So possibly one more little push, deviate into the range, come back down, and then play ultimately underneath the range low. But I would like to see this level that we've flipped here, make it a solid line. I want to see that level that we've flipped hold now. And what's that at? $14.50. And the reason is because that's that key SR level. Okay, this was that key resistance down here when we were trading in that range. Okay, down here, we've broken up now. So I want to see that level hold as support. It's fine if we chop around in here for weeks and we're underneath this diagonal, just consolidating above this level. I'm fine with that. And it just goes back to that previous chart that I had shared. Again, you know, the overall idea, right, the methodology of the accumulation zone is that we'd have this kind of major capitulation event, right, on this V, and then we reclaim that key level during that accumulation range to push further up, right? Let me just draw it so it's a bit easier to see here. Okay, so you got your bear market coming down, you find support, you get capitulation, and then you start to get your accumulation with maybe a deviation below that, and then you quickly reclaim that level back into your accumulation zone. So you got your distribution, accumulation range, deviation, reclaim that level, and then breakout. I am hopeful that we don't see lower than what we've seen. I stay objective to the possibility of more downside, definitely. And if Bitcoin hasn't bottomed out yet, then altcoins haven't. So they will bleed if Bitcoin continues to drop. So I'm hopefully optimistic, but I'm also objectively disciplined. Easier said than done, right? Okay, I'll just flip back again here. Go to the log chart. If things do go sideways and this low does not hold, well, first of all, this level that we've reclaimed does not hold and we start trading underneath it back inside yellow, then I think this low is in question. And below that, I'm looking at this area of consolidation right here, which sounds crazy to me, but anything's possible. We are in a macro financial environment and economy that crypto and Bitcoin have not seen before. This is our first major recession since arguably 2008. So it's the first real world recession that cryptocurrency and Bitcoin's seeing. So I think it's an unforeseen circumstance that we need to be cautious of and very patient with. But again, I've started to take on risk. I've started to accumulate because I don't want to be the one left sidelined because crypto never ceases to amaze me. And I'm tied because I was planning on loading up on Solana so much during this bear market and I was excited to get in at like $20, you know, and then we had the FTX insolvency collapse and the ties that it had with Solana really concerned me. So it's tough. It kind of put the brakes on for a bit for myself, but I stuck to my plan and I said, you know, let's have the assumption that Solana can recover. Worse things have happened to other crypto assets and they've been able to recover. So that's kind of the mentality that I have. Let me just take this off the screen here. People are going to see it too long and start to think that that's where I think price is going. Anyways, that's the gist of it for this video, you guys. Thanks again for joining. Hopefully you found something helpful, and I'd really appreciate it if you gave the video a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and you can follow me on Twitter at CryptoVatsik. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.